ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेव श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नाम नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गे राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम राम। Hare Krishna. So today we are going to begin a discussion on a new chapter, that is text 8 of Shri Upadeshamrit. I don't have any qualifications to speak on the themes that begin from this chapter till the last text, that is text 11. But because this is part of the syllabus and uh, we have commentaries by Srila Prabhupada and other acharyas, so whatever limited understanding I have on the subject matter, I try to share with all of you. But before we begin, I do to seek blessings of Srila Prabhupada Swami, who very much showed not just by his writings but also by his life all these principles that he's been speaking about in the letter of instructions or Upadeshamrit. So this today's verse will speak about the practice of Raganuga Bhakti, in which a very important limb of Bhakti that a sadhaka practices is Smaranam. One meditates on the pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna and his associates. So when this practice one does, it happens in two ways generally. We will discuss about it. Seva sadhak rupena, siddha rupena. So as a sadhaka in sadhaka's body, one tries to follow another very exalted sadhaka who is practicing this raganuga bhakti. And in one's mind, one meditates on uh, the siddha deha that one gets by the blessings of Guru. And in that Siddha Deha, one renders service in the pastimes of Radha Krishna and their associates. So many times this Manasi Seva that happens most of the time generally happens in the mind, and the beginning of that happens with Smaranam. So, Srila Rupa Goswami, he also would spend time in Smaranam. And this happens at a very elevated stages. You might have heard this pastime when one day one devotee came to meet Sri Rupa Goswami when Rupa Goswami was in his deep meditation. And this personality who came, maybe he was um, kind of handicapped, or he had some uh, disabilities in his body. And Rupa Goswami, in his meditation, just at that moment when this devotee arrived, he happened to experience something humorous in Nitya Leela. And in the sadhaka deha, or the external body, the physical body, he happened to laugh or smile. And this devotee, when he saw that, he felt offended that maybe Rupa Goswami is laughing at my inability to walk properly or whatever disabilities that I have. And we hear that Rupa Goswami's Smaranam broke because this Vaishnava got offended. Now, there are different discussions in different groups of devotees saying that we don't know whether this pastime really happened. And if it happened, we may not take that as a Siddhantic uh, situation that, okay, if some devotee feels offended, then your Smaranam will break. So this Siddhanta cannot be established here because this is a very specific situation. In general, offense is when we have that offensive attitude or offensive mentality. And we have discussed six kinds of offenses that one may commit towards a Vaishnava. Hanti nindanti vaidveshti Vaishnava nadhi nandati. So, killing a Vaishnava or criticizing a Vaishnava or hating a Vaishnava, becoming angry upon a Vaishnava, not greeting a Vaishnava properly, those kinds of things. So, only then generally an offense happens. So, in case if we take this pastime very literally and we make a siddhanta out of it, it may become a very complex situation. We may be practicing nicely, and suddenly some devotee, out of no reason, may become upset with you. Then that actually does not hamper your bhajan. So the pastime I quoted to uh, point out that this is the practice, the smaranam that Rupa Goswami actually had. And we also see Srila Prabhupada also would be meditating in his mind. So many things. Like one of the time when Prabhupada was asked, Prabhupada, what are you meditating upon? What were you thinking when he had his eyes closed for a long time? And what did he say? What was he meditating upon? Anybody knows this?
Prabhuji, was it Gopalila?
Yeah, he said I was
Uh,
meditating upon Krishna's lunchbox.
Krishna in the pasturing line. Hmm.
Yeah, I was meditating upon Krishna's lunchbox. So they all actually engaged not just their tongue, but also their mind in thinking of Krishna. So that is what uh, is the first step in Raganuga Bhakti, which we'll start beginning today, which will begin discussions about today. So till last verse, whatever we have discussed, this comes as a part of Vaidhi Bhakti, or we can call it Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. What is the meaning of Vaidhi? Vaidhi is something in which one has to follow a particular vidhi, rules, rules and regulations. Now, these rules and regulations, they come uh, to us through our spiritual master who actually explains what is mentioned in the scriptures. So, whatever is mentioned in scriptures, that our spiritual master will give us as an injunction to follow. You must do this. And when one is practicing various limbs of bhakti, because it is a rule given to us by spiritual master, by the scriptures, one continues to follow this very rigidly. That is called as Vaidhi Bhakti or Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. And Raganuga Bhakti is going to begin from text 8 till text 11. So Raganuga Bhakti can be translated, uh, the best possible translation is spontaneous devotional service, in which one is not practicing the limbs of bhakti because it is a rule given, because it is an injunction given by the spiritual master. One practices the limbs of bhakti out of spontaneous attachment for the Lord. It's a spontaneous devotional service. Now there is also Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. So in Sadhana Bhakti, there are parts like Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti is a kind of bhakti one practices by uh, two ways, Sadhaka Deha and Siddha Deha. As I explained in the beginning, we will read that verse that Prabhupada has mentioned in that he has quoted in the commentary. So one not just meditates, not just engages his tongue in chanting the holy names, but also engages his mind in meditating upon Krishna's pastimes and tries to render service in his meditation. That is Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. And when one continues to practice this, the goal is to reach Raganuga Bhakti, spontaneous devotional service, when it is not just a sadhana, but it is a perfected stage, where one is spontaneously attracted to Krishna, and that then leads to the development of uh, bhava, mm, or prema, the topmost stages in the Navavida Bhakti. So if we see this 11 texts, or this 11 verses of Shri Upadeshamrit, the first 7, they have been speaking about Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. This 8th will speak about Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, and 9, 10, and 11 will speak about Bhava and Prema. So what is this Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti that we will start uh, reading now, based on the commentary given to us by Srila Prabhupada. So let us begin by reciting the text. Please repeat after me. तन्नामरूपचरितादिसुकीर्तनानो
नामरूपचरितादिसुकीर्तिनानु
स्मृत्यो क्रमेण रसना मनसि नियोज्य
मृत्यो क्रमेण रसना मनसि नियोज्य
तिष्ठन् व्रजेतदनुरागि जनानुगामी
तिष्ठन् व्रजे तदनुरागि जनानुगामी
कालं नयेदखिलम् इति उपदेशसारम्
कालं नयेदखिलमिति उपदेशसारम्
Then, or actually it is Tat, of Lord Krishna. Nama, the holy name. Rupa, form. Charita Adi, character, pastimes, and so on. Sukirtana, in discussing or chanting nicely. Anusmrityoho, and in remembering. Kramena, gradually. Rasana, the tongue. Manasi, and one's mind. Niyojya, engaging. Tishthan, residing. Vraje, in Vraja. Tat, to Lord Krishna. Anuragi, attached. Jana, persons. Anugami, following. Kalam, time. Nayed, should utilize. Akhilam, full. Iti, thus. Upadesh, of advice or instruction. Saram, the essence. See, this book itself is called The Nectar of Instructions. This book actually contains the essence of all the instructions that have been provided in the Vedic literature. And amongst all the instructions that have been given in this Upadeshamrit or the nectar of instruction, this particular verse is the essence. Upadesh Saram. Sar is the essence and Upadesh the instructions. So the nectar in the nectar of instructions is this verse, or the essence of Upadeshamrit, this particular verse. Tannama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtananu Smrityo Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyojya Tishtan Vraje Tad Anuragi Jananugami Kalam Naye Akilam Iti Upadesha Saram. The essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day, in nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastimes, thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and mind. In this way, one should reside in Vraja, Golok, Vrindavan Dham, and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. So Tan is Krishna's Nama, holy name, Rupa, form, Charita, his activities, Adi, so name, form, qualities, and pastimes. Sukirtananu. Su means very nicely or very joyfully. We have to do Kirtananu, Kirtan. Hmm? And Anusmrityo, Kirtan and Smaran, Smrityoho. And word Anu is added here. Anu means constantly. That's why Prabhupada says 24 hours a day. Anu means constantly. Anu also means following in the footsteps of, following the footsteps of, or coming in the parampara. So in parampara, one has to do kirtan and smaran 24 hours a day, and kramena in a proper sequence. So sequence begins with rasana, that's tongue. So in the previous text, Srila Rupa Goswami has already advised us that we have to engage our tongue in chanting Krishna's names. Hmm? स्यात् कृष्ण नाम चरिता विसिताप्य विद्या पित्तोपतप्त रसनस्य न रोचिकानु किंतु आदुरात् अनुदिनं खलु सैवजुष्टा स्वाद्विक्रमात् भवति तद्गत मूलहन्त्री. He says that one has to engage one's tongue in chanting the holy names. Even if holy names appear bitter, one has to go on chanting with Adar and Anudinam. Gradually his disease will be uprooted and he will taste the sweetness of the holy name. But here he says not only tongue, but also after engaging one's tongue perfectly, one also has to engage one's mind. Manasi, niyojya. Niyojya means engage or invest. While one is doing this, chanting by his tongue and remembering by his mind, it is also important that one situate himself in a proper place. Tishtan, he has to stay. Where? Vraje, he has to stay in Vrindavan. Why he has to stay in Vrindavan? That also we will discuss as we come to that point. And should we just stay in Vrindavan? No. While staying in Vrindavan, one has to follow Tad Anuragi Jana Anugami. So one has to Anugami. Anugami means follow in the footsteps of whom? Tad Anuragi Jan. Those people who have developed that spontaneous devotion for Lord Sri Krishna. That is how Kalam, time, Nayed Akhilam, Iti Upadesha Saram. That is how one has to spend all one's time uh, in chanting, speaking, and remembering about Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes while staying in Vrindavan. And when one is staying in Vrindavan, he has to do this under supervision and guidance of one of the Anuragi devotee who also is generally residing in Vrindavan. So let us begin reading what Prabhupada has explained. Srila Prabhupada says, since the mind may be one's enemy or one's friend, one has to train the mind to become his friend. The Krishna consciousness movement is specially meant for training the mind to be always engaged in Krishna's business. The mind contains hundreds and thousands of impressions, not only of this life, but also of many, many lives of the past. These impressions sometimes come in contact with one another and produce contradictory pictures. In this way, the mind's function can become dangerous for a conditioned soul. Students of psychology are aware of the mind's various psychological changes. In Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter, 6th verse, it is said, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tachantyante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. At the time of death, the mind and intelligence of a living entity create subtle form of certain type of body for the next life. If the mind suddenly thinks of something not very congenial, one has to take a corresponding birth in the next life. On the other hand, if one can think of Krishna at the time of death, he can be transferred to the spiritual world, Golok, Vrindavan. This process of transmigration is very subtle. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami advises devotees to train their minds in order that they will be unable to remember anything other than Krishna. Similarly, the tongue should be trained to speak only of Krishna and to taste only Krishna Prasad. Srila Rupa Goswami further advises Tishthan Vraje. One should live in Vrindavan or any part of Vrajabhumi. Vrajabhumi or the land of Vrindavan is supposed to be 84 kroshas in area. 1 krosha equals 2 square miles. When one makes Vrindavan his residence, he should take shelter of an advanced devotee there. In this way, one should always think of Krishna and his pastimes. And then Srila Prabhupada quotes two verses from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu to explain the process of Raganuga Bhakti. So Prabhupada begins by explaining the importance of training one's mind because yam yam vapis maran bhavam, whatever consciousness we have, especially at the time of death, that is the body which we are going to get. So this is one of the foundational concepts we would discuss in our Discover Yourself course while teaching to new people. But it is not only for teaching to others. It is also important for us to understand that whatever I am thinking of, that body I can get at the time of death. And what will I think of at the time of death? Whatever I have been most attached to during my lifetime, or whatever one has spent maximum time with during my lifetime. That will become my default profile. I often discuss this concept, little AI kind of concept with new students. Some of you might have heard, but still I'll repeat here because it's very important, very relevant. So imagine you've got a smartphone which has ability to uh, remember what kind of settings, profile settings you keep based on the GPS location that you have. So if I go to school, then there I want my phone to be in silent mode, and the wallpaper should be, some decent one. And even if some ringtone is there, that should be something that is suitable in my school. If I go on playground, then I would like to have a different wallpaper on my phone. I would like to have a loud ringtone and some profile settings. If I go to uh, actually, many of these things I have learned from Tarun Magu. I'm just trying to repeat what I've learned from him many years back. But it was very helpful for me when he explained these concepts to me. So yeah, so if I go to my friends, so there I will have want a particular wallpaper, ringtone, some profile settings. If I come to my parents, again there I would like to have a different wallpaper, different ringtone. And imagine your phone has that ability to remember your profile settings based on your GPS location. And if that kind of function is enabled, you don't have to manually change your settings, profile settings, whenever you go to a particular place. It automatically activates that particular profile by detecting your GPS location. So now when you are doing this, imagine you go to a new place, completely new place where you have not taken your phone. And phone will get confused. Hey, this is a new location which I have not experienced. So what profile settings will the phone uh, set when I go to this particular place? Okay, Shamshan was saying whatever is the default profile. So what will be the default profile? Two things. One is, yeah, what Siddesh was saying, that the most used one. Generally, that's how whatever is repeated again and again, again and again, that may become the default profile. Same is the case with our mind also. Uh, it keeps changing our identity based on the people we meet. With friends, we are more like friends. In front of parents, we are like their child. Uh, with in our company, we are more like employee, and we'll have different profiles. But which will be our default profile? Something that has created the deepest impression in your consciousness. That generally will be by a very deep experience that we have, or something that we have been spending maximum time with, or internally what we have been cultivating the time or consciousness in. So at the time of death, these default profile, they will kind of pop up. Whatever we have spent maximum time with, or whatever has created the deepest impressions in our mind. So, and this is one of the reason why we are practicing also bhakti, so that we train our mind to always think of Krishna, because at the time of death, Radhesham used to give us this example when we were very new in bhakti. He used to tell me about uh, one Dr. Leach. This Dr. Leach was very expert, because leeches are like the Ayurvedic injection. Why- what do you call it? Injection. Sometimes you want to, take out blood from your body. We have the syringes. So in Ayurveda, they used to have this worm called leech. So they may just leave this leech on your body, and wherever you have some impurity in your blood, the leech will go and stop there and start sucking the blood. And this is how they would treat sometimes some diseases. And this leech, there are various kinds of leeches, different sizes, different color, different types. So there was one person who had become very expert in studying this leeches. Which leech should be used for treating what kind of disease? And there are hundreds of types of leeches: black leech, white leech, red leech, brown leech, green leech, long leech, short leech, thin leech, fat leech. And all over the world, people have been calling him. oh, we are in this problem. Which leech should we use? I say, okay, you can use this leech for treating this particular disease. And whole life he has been doing research on leeches, thinking of leeches, and the time of death arrives. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. He was so much leech conscious that his name became Dr. Leech. And when that time of death arrives, what do you think? What will you think of? Think of Krishna. Yeah, you'll think of Leech. And what body will he get? Assuming that he has not practiced devotional service, there's great chance that he may become Leech. One is spending a lot of time with dogs. A whole day is thinking of dogs, 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 dogs. Like that is example explained in Srimad Bhagavatam of Bharat Maharaj. He's thinking so much of the deer that he actually obtained body of a deer. If somebody's thinking of dog, may become dog. That's how Prabhupada was so uh, uh, open in preaching these kind of things. In basically, he said, whatever uh, you're thinking of, that kind of body you'll get. And the great thing is, if you think of Krishna and his associates, then that kind of body we have opportunity to obtain. So that's why we don't want to just engage our tongue. We also want to engage our mind in thinking of Krishna. If you don't engage our mind, just engage your tongue, but mind is somewhere else. Whatever is your consciousness at the time of death, that kind of body we are going to get. Not just whatever we have been speaking or whatever we have been doing mindlessly. That won't be beneficial. So many examples come in scriptures where someone thought of a particular thing at the time of death, and that became his destiny. So Rupa Goswami is telling us, and Sri Prabhupada explained that in the beginning, that one has to train one's mind. So some people, they thought that training one's mind will become very easy if externally, physically also, I start living like Krishna's associates. Like I've seen some people, like now this FIFA World Cup is going on, and many people, you may see them wearing FIFA t-shirts, um, FIFA shoes, and they actually live in FIFA consciousness. They live like that. Or sometimes some people are big fan of some cricketer. They actually dress like him. You see, they will dress. That player's name will be there, his number will be there, his badge will be there, the same T-shirt they will wear, and that's how they will. Uh, the same hairstyle they will do, same everything. पूरा उसके जैसा रहेगा because they have become that cricketer consciousness. So because we have to train our mind, some people they may think, okay, uh, then why not practice this Siddha Pranali, which is given in our Sampradaya in the past, where you get details about some Swarupa that you have and start living like that. Like Srila Prabhupada's time, there was one person who was told by his guru that you're a peacock in spiritual world. And he started doing that sadhana early morning. He would try to make sounds of peacock and dance like peacock. And I'm supposed to become a peacock for Krishna's pleasure. And some people, if you go to Vrindavan, you'll see them wearing dress of a gopi and behaving like gopi, talking like a gopi, and singing. So is that not a good practice? His mind will get so nicely trained. Uh, in why are we uh, taking such a long route? Why not take a shortcut? Just dress like a gopi and or manjari and start behaving like them and just land up. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajantyante kalevaram tam tam eveti kaunteya sada tad bhavam harita. We are like why we are wearing this dress of a purusha and Okay, we will take it cheaply. Correct. Yes, who says sentimentalism will come. But yeah, even if it is sentimentalism, we may take it cheaply, whatever way it may be. What is the problem if it helps training our mind, thinking of that person, and we will land up there? Just think of a gopi and you become a gopi. Dress like a gopi. And, uh, okay, if my guru gives me that instruction, I'll do it. Perfect. If guru has told, then I can do it. If on my own I will do it, then what principle we are breaking of Upadeshamrit that we have learned earlier? This is a NOI 3. Niyamagraha, okay, but something more specific. Based on what Tarun my bro has told, that if my guru tells me, I will surely do it. But if one thinks, so this is a good practice, I can just um, dress like a coward boy and just play all day with Krishna in my mind, and I'll end up becoming Krishna. Sato vritte, perfect. Vijayanand has told. Sato vritte. Utsahat nishaya dhairya tat karma pravartanat sangatagat sato vritte shadvir bhakti prasad. All of you are memorizing na verses, Prabhus. Okay, exam is going to start from next weekend. I wanted to take it this weekend, but somehow uh, this weekend is a bit tight. So we have एग्जाम का नाम लेते ही मेरा इंटरनेट कनेक्शन किसी ने काट दिया. हेलो मिस्टिक पावर्स. Huh? Bro, I'm not able to hear you, Shamchandanu.
I said we didn't do anything.
I think some devotees have mystic powers. जैसे एग्जाम का नाम लिया मेरा इंटरनेट कनेक्शन काट दिया. Anyways, so Sato Vritte, we want to practice bhakti, but following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas, the path that they have established. We don't have to invent a new path. If you invent a new path, that will destroy your bhakti. We already discussed. I gave example of some people wanting to chant. How many rounds in 2 hours? 64 rounds. They wanted to chant by their fertile brain. Some amazing new ideas, amazing new techniques. So we don't see Srila Prabhupada doing that. We don't see Bhakti Siddhanta Sarojarakur doing that. That just we change the external dress and behave like a Gopa or a Gopi. It is very important that this particular service has to be rendered in mind. That particular seva has to be rendered in mind. We will read about it. Prabhu Goswami explained the whole process. But some people, they may come up with some practices which may not be very uh, favorable for us right now in the particular day and age that we are living in, and the kind of baggage of anarthas that we carry with us. That's why it's important that we don't invent our new method, but we just follow. We just follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. So we'll read further. So what is the process? Process is explained by Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Srila Prabhupada quotes two verses from that process. He says, this is further elucidated by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1, 2 to 94. Krishnam Smaran Janam Chasya Preshtham Nijasamihitam Tat Tat Katharatas Chasau Kuryadvasam Vraje Sada. A devotee should always reside in the transcendental realm of Raja and always engage in Krishnam Smaran Janam Chasya Preshtham, the remembrance of Sri Krishna and his beloved associates. By following in the footsteps of such associates and by entering under their eternal guidance, one can acquire an intense desire to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when I say to Krishna Smaran and Janam Chasya, so we don't have to do only Krishna Smaran, but also we can do Smaran of Krishna's associates. Preshtham Nija Samihitam, which associates, the kind of associates one feels inclined to think of. Tat Tat Katha Ritas Chasav, one has to hear their Katha, Kuryat Vasam Vraje Sada, while staying in Vraja. Again, Srila Rupa Goswami has states in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1, 2 to 95. Seva sadhaka rupena siddha rupena chatrahi tadbhava lipsuna karya rajalokano. In the transcendental realm of Rajadham, one should serve the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna with a feeling similar to that of his associates. And one should place himself under the direct guidance of a particular associate of Krishna and should follow in his footsteps. This method is applicable both in the stage of sadhana, spiritual practices executed while in the stage of bondage, and in the stage of sadhya, God realization. God realization when one is a siddha purusha or a spiritually perfect soul. So seva happens in two ways, sadhaka rupena and siddha rupena. So sadhaka rupena one has to follow. For example, I can follow Srila Rupa Goswami. The way he performed his sadhana, I try to follow my sadhana, following in his footsteps. That's why we call ourselves as Rupanuga. Rupa Goswami told that we should do Ekadashi, so we will also do Ekadashi. Rupa Goswami said we have to practice the 64 limbs of bhakti, so we also practice the 64 limbs of sadhana bhakti. So in the sadhaka deha, in sadhaka rupa, I follow all the practices given to me by a raganuga bhakta like Rupa Goswami, and whatever sadhana he has done, we do that. And siddha rupena, when one is sufficiently advanced in the path of bhakti, then the guru will ask him to render this one additional service, which actually is the beginning of raganuga sadhana bhakti, where in one's mind, manasi seva, one will serve. Now Rupa Goswami, he has a sadhaka roop here in material world, and he has a siddha roop there in the spiritual world. His siddha roop is Rupa Manjari, who is one of the leaders of the Manjaris assisting the Sakhis in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So in Siddha Rupa, so in my mind, in a spiritual body, one will try to assist Rupa Manjari, who is actually assisting the Sakhis in assisting the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Tad bhava lipsuna karya vrajalokanusarataha. So, doing these kind of practices and then slowly progressing in devotional service, where on the path of bhakti one will attain the stage of bhava and prema. So, this is, one may feel, oh, this is too much. Oh, so, what should I do? Should I start meditating upon these pastimes, and what is my deha? What kind of meditation I should do? So, we have to surely reach this stage one day. Hmm. But it will take time, and there are certain qualifications required. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very clearly states, mm, that is written by Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that I am not very much pleased by the Vedi Bhakti or the Vedi Bhakti that a person is doing. I be very much pleased when one is having a Raga Bhakti in the mood of the Vrajavasis. And only that Raga Bhakti will enable us to go back to Golok Vrindavan. Without coming to that Raga platform, it is not possible for us to go back to Golok Vrindavan. By Vaidya Bhakti, one may be able to reach up to Vaikuntha or different planets in Vaikuntha. But if one wants to enter Golok Vrindavan specifically, it is very important that one should reach that stage of raga, or spontaneous attachment. I will maybe show some verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Uh, so this is Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 8.221. Hmm. These are talks between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Ramananda Rai. It says Raganuga Marge Tare Bhaje Yai Jana Sei Jana Pai Vraje Rajendra Nandana. Raganuga Marge Tare Bhaje Yai Jana. If one worships the Lord on the path of spontaneous love and goes to Vrindavan, he receives the shelter of Rajendra Nandan, the son of Nanda Maharaj. I'll just read the purport. Prabhupada says, in all, there are 64 items listed for the rendering of service unto Krishna. And these are the regulative principles enjoined in the Shastras and given by spiritual master. One has to serve Krishna according to these regulative principles. But if one develops spontaneous love for Krishna as exhibited in the activities of those who live in Vrajabhumi, one attains the platform of Raganuga Bhakti. One who has developed this spontaneous love is eligible for elevation to the platform enjoyed by the inhabitants of Vrajabhumi. In Vrajabhumi, there are no regulative principles set forth for Krishna's service. Rather, everything is carried out in spontaneous, natural love for Krishna. There is no question of following the principles of the Vedic system. Such principles are followed within this material world as long as one is on the material platform. He has to execute them. However, spontaneous love of Krishna is transcendental. It may seem that the regulative principles are being violated, but the devotee is on the transcendental platform. Such service is called Gunadita or Nirguna, for it is not contaminated by the three modes of material nature. So, Raganuga Marge, Tare means Krishna, Bhaje Yei Jana, Sei Jana Pai Vraje Vrajendra Nandana. So this is one verse which emphasizes that one has to eventually come to this spontaneous practice. There's another verse, just few verses after this, that is 8.226. अंघ्रि पद्म शुद्ध ये कहे कृष्ण संगानंद विधि मार्गे ना पाइये ब्रजे कृष्ण चंद्र. The word Angri Padma Sudha, sorry, I read Shuddha. The word Angri Padma Sudha means associating intimately with Krishna. One can attain such perfection only by spontaneous love of God. One cannot obtain Krishna in Golok Vrindavan simply by serving the Lord according to regulative principles. Vidhi marge na paiye raje Krishna Chandra. So the point is, if one just sticks only to the Vaidhi Bhakti that one is doing, just externally without any engagement of one's mind, and without coming to that mood of Rajavasis, if one is just externally practicing the regulative principles, one will not be able to enter Golok Vrindavan. Now, we don't have to prematurely get into this practice of Raganuga Bhakti. How one has to practice Raganuga Bhakti, how one has to reach to that stage, that will be explained now. In the further part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada quotes what has been explained by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He explains various stages on the path of Raganuga Bhakti. I'll read that. Srila Prabhupada has quoted, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has commented as follows upon this verse. One who has not yet developed interest in Krishna consciousness should give up all material motives and train his mind by following the regulative principles, the progressive regulative principles, namely chanting and remembering Krishna and his name, form, qualities, pastimes, and so forth. In this way, after developing a taste for such things, one should try to live in Vrindavan and pass his time constantly remembering Krishna's name, fame, pastimes, and qualities under the direction and protection of an expert devotee. This is the sum and substance of all instructions regarding the cultivation of devotional service. So, the sar of all the instructions is finally this, that one has to cleanse oneself, he has to give up anarthas, he has to give up his material motives, train his mind by following the progressive regulative principles, namely chanting and then remembering Krishna, his name, form, pastimes, and qualities. And while living in Vrindavan, and again and again, this points are coming that one has to do Shravan, Manan, stay in Vrindavan, and under the direction and protection of an expert devotee, who is a spiritual master. Then how will one actually progress? So from step 1, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains. He says, in a neophyte stage, one should always engage in hearing Krishna Katha. So right now, this is a stage meant for me. That in my neophyte stage, first thing I have to do is engage myself in hearing Krishna Katha. This is called Shravana Dasha, the stage of hearing. How much Shravana one has to do? Constant Shravan. By constantly hearing the transcendental holy name of Krishna and hearing of his transcendental form, qualities, and pastimes, one can attain to the stage of acceptance called Varanadasha. So, first one has to begin when we are chanting, but chanting is not enough. chanting is not enough. It is very important that we hear Krishna Katha. If only chanting was important, why so many scriptures were written? Why so many pastimes are written? Uh, Scriptures should have just told Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Iti Shodashaka Namnam Kali Kalmashanachanam. Natara Paroktarupayadesu Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. Hare Nam, Eva Kevalam Kalu Nasti Eva Gatiranyatha. If this was the only thing, only holy name should have been mentioned. Why so many pastimes are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam? Why so many books have been written by devotees? And why did Srila Prabhupada take out time separately from he paused his translation of Srimad Bhagavatam and first he translated uh, 10th canto. Kind of he gave a summary study of the 10th canto by giving us Krishna book. Why did he do that? Because he understood that these pastimes of Krishna are the most important. They're extremely important, and that is one of the reason most of the Kathakars they will directly jump to 10th canto. And Srila Prabhupada, he always warned people that we should not jump to 10th canto. But the understanding is very clear that 10th canto is very important. The fact that people are trying to jump to 10th canto and Prabhupada told without any proper qualification, we should not jump there. But he took out time. He was not sure whether he will be able to complete his translation of 10th canto or not. And he himself gave us Krishna book. Not only he gave us Krishna book, he also told every day in the night how devotees should end their day. How devotees should end our day
By reading Krishna book.
by reading Krishna book. Everyone knows this. It's gone. Everyone knows that we should be taking hot milk along with reading of Krishna book. Not just take hot milk and sleep, but we should read Krishna book. Huh? Why did Prabhupada emphasize upon this? If chanting was the only thing, if holy name is everything, because we need to also develop the right mood. We also need to develop the right consciousness of Brajavasis. We need to hear Krishna Katha. We need to, we want to love Krishna, but we don't know anything about him. How does he look? What does he like? What is his form like? And we don't feel any attraction for him. On the other hand, material world is so attractive. Everything in material world appears so uh, tempting, so attractive, so appealing, and one doesn't have any conception of spiritual world. It's very difficult to develop that kind of consciousness, that kind of bhava for the Lord. And unless we have that very great longing, very great attachment in the mood of Rajvasis, we will not be able to enter Golok Vrindavan. That's very clear. So we have to spend time in Shravan Dasha, not just once in a week or once in a month. Prabhupada wanted every day. Morning you read Bhagavatam, evening you read Gita, but night you end with Krishna book. We actually hear Krishna Katha. We hear about Krishna's beauty. We hear about Krishna's qualities. We hear Krishna's pastimes and get infected, uh, get haunted by thoughts of Krishna and his associates. When one does this constantly, then after getting purified, one will reach the next stage. After Shravan Dasha, the next stage is Varana Dasha. Varana Dasha is a dashas that Prabhupada explains here by quoting Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is the stage of acceptance. That it doesn't just remain an optional thing. One is completely accepted uh, this process of hearing, and when one is convinced completely about these truths about Krishna and the spiritual world, natural thing that will happen when one is at this stage is he will start speaking about Krishna. So Varan Dasha also means stage of acceptance plus stage of glorifying Krishna, the stage of speaking Krishna Katha. One will spontaneously want to speak about Krishna. Have you experienced this? Whenever you like something very much, even if somebody has not asked about it, you start speaking about it without asking. Nobody has asked you, but somehow you liked it so much that you just go and start speaking about it. That is the stage of Varana Dasha, when one, whether asked or not, he will start doing Krishna Katha. So that is the second stage. After crossing that stage, there will be next stage. So Prabhupada writes further, when one attains this stage, he becomes attached to the hearing of Krishna Katha. When one is able to chant in ecstasy, he attains the stage of Smaranavastha. So he does Kirtan, he does Katha, and then eventually he will reach the stage of ecstasy. And next stage he will attain is Smaranavastha, the stage of remembering. Recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance are 5 items of progressive Krishna Smaran. So the Smarana Avastha has 5 sub-stages. One is recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance. At first, remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted. Prabhupada is explaining now these 5 stages. These 5 stages, the sub-stages of Smaranavastha are being explained here. At first, remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted at intervals, but later remembrance proceeds uninterrupted. When remembrance is uninterrupted, it becomes concentrated and is called meditation. When meditation expands and becomes constant, it is called anusmriti. By uninterrupted and unceasing anusmriti, one enters the stage of samadhi or a spiritual trance. After smarana dasha or samadhi has fully developed, the soul comes to understand his original constitutional position. At that time, he can perfectly and clearly understand his eternal relationship with Krishna. That is called Sampatti Dasha, the perfection of life. This is the last Dasha. So, Srila Prabhupada has quoted here 4 dashas: Shravana Dasha, Varana Dasha, Smarana Dasha or Smarana Vastha, and Sampatti Dasha. But in the actual commentary of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, there is one more stage. So Shravan Dasha, Varan Dasha, Smarana Dasha. Smarana Dasha has 5 sub-stages. That is, Prabhupada says recollection, that is Smaran, Dharana, that is absorption, Dhyana, that is meditation, constant remembrance is Anusmriti, and trance is Samadhi. And after Smaran Dasha, one stage that comes is Apana Dasha, which is not mentioned here in the purport, but Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur mentions about it. That is called Apana Dasha. And the sadhak automatically attains Sampati Dasha after that. And Sampati Dasha is a final attainment where one actually realizes one's eternal relationship with Krishna. And now, this is the last paragraph we will read. Chaitanya Charitamrita advises those who are neophytes to give up all kinds of motivated desires and simply engage in regulative devotional service of the Lord according to the directions of Scripture. In this way, a neophyte can gradually develop attachment for Krishna's name, form, qualities, and so forth. When one has developed such attachment, he can spontaneously serve the lotus feet of Krishna even without following the regulative principles. This stage is called Raga Bhakti or devotional service in spontaneous love. See, Raga Bhakti, one will not care so much about the regulative principles. Uh, So, what does that mean? One will stop chanting 16 rounds.
We will
So, in
chant
Raga,
more. We will
he will
chant
chant
more.
more.
Yeah.
Then, which regulative principle he will not care for? As Prabhupada explains here, on the Raga stage, one will uh, even without following regulative principles, one will continue to spontaneously serve Krishna. And he doesn't carry so much care so much about the Vidhi as we read in the purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita also. Yes, Sureshmi.
Would you like entering the temple and like we first pay obeisances and then take darshans, but maybe because of their love, spontaneous love for the Lord, they may just like see and they may not offer obeisances.
Perfect. So, uh, he the regular principle is when you enter a temple hall, one has to offer obeisances. But the love is so much at the Raga platform that one doesn't have that feeling of awe and reverence. We have to bow down. If suppose somebody is in the mood of a sakha, and if he enters in that mood, that spontaneous love, he says, "Oh, he's my friend. Why should I bow down to him?" So it's a different level, which will be more pleasing to Krishna. Imagine your friend comes who is like your sakha and he bows down to you, as in showing so much respect, so much awe and reverence. Do you like it, or do you like a friend who is like more like, "Hey, come on, yaar," not following so many rules and regulations and not being so formal? Uh, like in friendship, sometimes people feel, "Oh, don't be so formal with me. I don't feel like your friend if you're so formal with me." That makes sense. So at that stage, when one is there, one may not exactly follow every regulative principles. He may not wake up for Mangalarati. Right now, regulative principle for us is we have to attend, suppose Mangalarati. He may not wake up for Mangalarati. Why?
He must be dreaming and having a constant smaran.
Yeah, whole night he's in Smaran in Krishna Leela. So Mangalarati may not be there. Not that, oh, now I've reached this Raga stage, so Mangalarati is, optional for me. I don't have to go and mark my attendance for the Mangalarati. Oh, I don't have to chant 16 rounds now. Surely that person doesn't have to chant 16 rounds, but will you constantly chanting? He will not be able to stop his chanting after 16 rounds. So there are many examples of such uh, devotees. Even it is said when Aditi, she happened to see the Lord, she was so much overwhelmed with love and affection for the Lord that she offered prostrated, flat, obeisance like a rod. Now, as per the injunction, Matajis are supposed to offer only Pancham Pranam. But she was so much, excited by seeing the Lord when the Lord appeared. She offered, proper Ashtanga Pranam, which is not wrong because she did out of mm, her love for the Lord. So when it is said that one is not so much concerned about the relative principle, we should not misunderstand it. कि चलो, I'll not have to follow the rules. The rules will be there, but uh, one will be doing beyond the rules. This stage is called Raga Bhakti or devotional service in spontaneous love. At that stage, a devotee can follow in the footsteps of one of the eternal associates of Krishna in Vrindavan. This is called Raganuga Bhakti. Raganuga Bhakti or spontaneous devotional service can be executed in the Shantaras when one aspires to be like Krishna's cows or the stick or flute in the hand of Krishna, or the flowers around Krishna's neck. In Dasyaras, one follows in the footsteps of servants like Chitrak, Patrak, or Raktak. In the friendly Sakhyaras, one can become a friend like Baladev, Shridama, or Sudama. In the Vatsalyaras, characterized by parental affection, one can become like Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. And in the Madhuryaras, characterized by conjugal love, one can become like Srimati Radharani or her lady friends, such as Larita and her serving maids, Manjuris, like Rupa and Rati. This is the essence of all instructions in the matter of devotional service. So, I'm not going too much detail into this practice right now because one reason is this stage is quite far away from all of us, at least from me right now. And second reason is, anyways, we'll be discussing about this when we read Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, the Nectar of Devotion. We will go through full chapters on this particular concept and the practices. But right now, we have a good amount of homework to do in the first 7 verses in Upadeshamrit, beginning with Vacho Vegam, Manasa Vegam, Krodha Vegam, Jiva Udarupastha Vegam. And then Atyahara, Prayasascha, Prajalpo, Niyamagra. So many things are there. After crossing all this stage, the seventh stage also is a big stage. One has to focus on chanting Adarat, Anudinam. But we should not forget that we also have to reach this stage where one stays in Vrindavan. Now, why so much emphasis given on staying in Vrindavan? Because the kind of place you stay, that also very much affects the results that you derive. Bhagavad Gita mentions this verse, Adhishthanam tatha karta karnam cha pratakvidam. One of the 5 factors that contribute in getting result of an action is also Adhishthan, the place of action. Where are you performing your action? So this is Bhagavad Gita 18.14. Krishna says, Adhishthanam tatha karta karnam cha prithak विविधै विविधाश्च पृथक् चेष्टा दैवं चैवात्र पंचमम्. Adhishthan means the place of action, that is the body, the performer, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately the super soul. These are the 5 factors of action. So the place matters a lot. Uh, Even in games, they discussing whether this is home pitch or not, because in home ground people can perform much better. So Vrindavan, if you go, it is very easy to practice, much easier to practice, because you can go to various places that naturally gives you remembrance of Krishna. There are so many sadhus who are staying there. But can everyone just go and stay in Vraja? Not just Vraja. Some more verses are going to come where it will say, okay, where in Vraja? The next verse is, where in Vraja? This is not just any place, not just in Mathura, but in Vrindavan. Not just in Vrindavan, but in Govardhan. Not just in Govardhan. Stay at Radhakund. Now, if everyone reads, we are preaching at such a big scale now in ISKCON, and everyone understands now the ultimate goal is to go and stay at Radhakund. How many people can stay in Radhakund and practice? Or even Vrindavan. And Vrindavan is also becoming so difficult now to live. Many devotees prefer to go to Mayapur than going to Vrindavan, because just the external situations in Vrindavan are so tough right now. With Mayapur, at least because not so much material development has taken place, people can have good experience in Mayapur, even from external point of view. After some time, we don't know whether that will remain there also. So, what is the meaning here? Should everyone just pack up our bags now? And like they used to have the slogan, Chalo Delhi. So we have to have slogan, Chalo Radha Kund or Chalo Vrindavan. So will it be possible to perfect our bhakti only in Vrindavan? Okay, in mind and in action. Akhileshwari Mata is saying. Very good. So if possible, we should try to stay in Vrindavan. Vrindavan is a state of consciousness. We can say Vrindavan is also a state of consciousness. Vrindavan is actually a place also, and it is also a state of consciousness. So we may not be able to stay in Vrindavan. If possible, we should try that. And we should try that only if we have that kind of. It's not that we are just going to stay in Vrindavan. Why we should go to Vrindavan? Not just to touch many places. Oh, today I went to this temple, today I went to that temple, I did this, I did that. Why does one go to Vrindavan? Tad anuragi jana anugami. That is a goal. In the verse, you can see very clearly it is mentioned. Tishtan Vraje, not that we just take an apartment and stay in Vrindavan. After the purpose of going to Vrindavan is because in Vrindavan you will find Tad Anuragi Jan, and we have to do Anugami, their Anugaman. So you must have heard this past time where Srila Prabhupada speaks why he was appreciated by his spiritual master. Why did his spiritual master consider him for initiation? When the first time someone introduced Srila Prabhupada to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, what Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur appreciated about Prabhupada, and he said, yes, I noticed something, and I will accept him, I will initiate him. What was the qualification of our Srila Prabhupada? He was good with devotees. Oh, he was good with. He likes to hear. Yes, this is the exact thing he said. He likes to hear. And how did Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati say that? On what basis?
प्रभु जी वो एक इंसिडेंट था
हाँ, कौन
जिसमें
सा?
तो सब वृंदावन में ही थे शायद और सब लोग आई मीन सम यात्रा दे हैड गॉन टू एंड अदर्स
Correct.
वेंट टू मतलब दर्शन लेने चले गए और प्रभुपाद वहां पे बैठ के गुरु महाराज से सुनना चाह रहे थे
Perfect, perfect. So there was a yatra going on, Rajamandal Parikrama, led by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Can you imagine? And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is leading a yatra. And his classes were very high-fi, very difficult to understand. Many people were not able to understand. And there was an announcement that Sheshashai Vishnu's darshan, those who want to take, they can. I've heard two versions here. One is class was going on, suddenly darshan opened and many people went. And some say that it was already announced that if somebody wants to go, they can go for darshan of Sheshashai Vishnu. And many people, they just got up. Only some 5 or 6 people stayed back. And one of them was His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati said, I noticed him, he likes to hear. He does not go away, he said. And those people had gone. Uh, so I think Sridhar Maharaj, he was asking, so how was your eye exercise? How was your eye exercise of looking up and down the deity of Sheshashai Vishnu? So we don't go to Vrindavan to do some eye exercise. We have enough opportunities to do eye exercise in our home. We go to Vrindavan for Tad Anuragi Jana Anugam, to find out a great soul residing there, who's having a mood of a Brajvasi, and take instructions from him and follow. Now, we don't have to do that right now. In our case, in ISKCON, we already have our spiritual masters, or we may be aspiring from a spiritual master who is also a Brajavasi, who is having mood of Brajavasi, and going at his feet, hearing from him is also like staying in Vrindavan. Going at the feet of spiritual master, hearing from him, in fact, would be better than going and visiting many places in Vrindavan just externally without proper move. So hearing from a Vrajavasi, hearing from a spiritual master who is in the mode of a Vrajavasi, who can help us cultivate that consciousness of Vraja Bhakti. So going and sitting at the feet of such a spiritual master, hearing from them, that is Tishtan Braje. More important is Tad Anuragi Jana Anugam. And he will guide us in this process. But right now, what homework we have to do if we want to reach that stage of Raganuga Bhakti? Think of our Swarupa and start meditating. Do Manasi Seva.
So we
What is the
hear
homework
more
we have
and
to
more.
do? Yeah, we have to perfect Shravana Dasha. Constant hearing and remembering. So we have to engage Rasana and Manasi, Niyojya, in hearing Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's qualities, Krishna's pastimes. 10th canto is given to us. We have to go on hearing, 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 hearing. Eventually, when you perfect hearing at a very high stage, when sufficient anartha nivritti has happened, you will start feeling inclination for a particular rasa. As Prabhupada explains here, the actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give primarily four rasas. So you will start feeling attraction for either dasyaras or sakyaras or vatsalyaras or madhuriras. Not that everyone will be in madhuriras. Different people will have different. Just because we are in Madhva, no, Brahma Madhva, Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, the Gaudiya Bhaktas, and in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not necessary that we all have to be in Madhurya. Different people can be in different rasa. Once you start feeling an inclination, very strong inclination, when you start reaching that stage of Varana Dasha, one has to confirm this by going to one's spiritual master. And when spiritual master confirms this, he will give us further sadhana. That is Raganuga sadhana. If he feels so, that is required. Otherwise, actually, by mercy, one can even continue practicing what one is practicing right now. And eventually, so there are three gurus that is explained. One is obviously Krishna Mandir Jagat Guru, he is the guru. Outside, there is a spiritual master who is his representative, and also there is a Chaitya Guru in our own heart. So, to the degree we are very sincere, to the degree we are very serious, and to the degree we strictly follow, everything is given actually in Prabhupada's books. And when we come to studying Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, we will learn more about these practices there also. Right now, what we need to work upon is the Shravana Dasha. Shravana Dasha, hear about it, engage your mind in Krishna. Tan Nama Rupa Charita Adi Sukirtananu. So we have to engage ourselves in this Shravan and also do Kirtan. When we do that, the Chaitya Guru within will also help us how to go ahead. Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Preeti Purvakam. With Preeti we have to do. We don't have to just mindlessly chant. Tesham Satata Yuktanam. Just don't do your fixed, regulated bhakti without any Preeti. Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Preeti Purvakam. Then Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yedamam Upayante. Krishna says, I will give you intelligence by which you be guided how to come back to me. But this is a great science. We should be extremely grateful to Srila Rupa Goswami. He has explained us the complete path, what all things are going to happen. And our great acharyas like Bhakti Siddhanta Sudhakus explained Shravan Dasha, Varana Dasha, Smarana Dasha, Apan Dasha, Sampatti Dasha. And that stage has to come one day when one realizes one's Swarupa and continues to render service in mind, in one's Siddha Deha, and externally in one's Sadhana Deha. So that is the essence of all instructions. Hare Krishna. We will take a break in case anybody has question. I don't think anybody has any questions today. It has been little. अभी और ऊपर से जाएगा आगे का. But that's why I'm not going to take too many classes on this. This is first we need to do a lot of homework. They said that one has to have a lot of lobha. Tatra laulyam api ekalam mulyam. The price one has to pay is laulya, and that laulya will come by hearing and by mercy actually. Mercy of Krishna or mercy of some very special, very advanced devotee. Uh, he will bless us with that laulya. And what is this Ragatmika Bhakti? What is Raganuga Bhakti? Who are the Ragatmika Bhaktas? Who is the Raganuga Bhakta? There are many, many details to be discussed in this, which I'm not taking up right now. We will do it when we study Nectar of Devotion, the last book, the last few chapters. That's why I just give a brief overview of what is this Raganuga Bhakti today. But a detailed discussion we will do after we complete studying Shri Vishopanishad, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and the beginning chapters of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Then again we will come to this little higher level of practice. But I also want to mention one thing, that we don't have to look negatively upon people who are practicing Siddha Pranali. It is also one of the authorized process. It's not a completely fake thing. But when it is practiced prematurely, that may create problem. Uh, Obviously, one can begin that also as a sadhana, provided one is sufficiently pure in one's heart and one is guided by a very potent spiritual master. But eventually, what happened is people started taking it very cheaply. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in between, he had made even a statement that people who don't even know how to clean themselves after passing stool, even they are getting Siddha Pranali. And when they start getting Siddha Pranali and the kind of illicit activities they were engaging in, that's how that Radha Kund, he would say that this Radha Kund will become a Narak Kund for you. So when too prematurely practicing these things uh, can be very, very dangerous. This path of Raganuga is a very difficult to understand path. Even demigods can get bewildered. Great sages can get bewildered sometimes on this path. That is what is explained. So it is a path which is, I would say, a bit risky to practice prematurely. So right now we need to continue with our sadhana bhakti, but also understand that one day we need to come to the stage, and we should understand that this is also a stage we need to reach. Not that okay, bro, now I've got everything, 16 rounds, positive principles, just hold on to it, and one day you'll find yourself in Godok Vrindavan. It's not that easy. We have to go through all these stages. We have to one day come to that mood of a Brajavasi, loving Krishna like a Brajavasi. Unless you do that, you won't land up in Golok Vrindavan. Okay, any questions on this? We will take after a break of 1 minute. We have completed this chapter. Next class, we'll have next chapter. One class only. I'm not going to discuss too much in detail right now. And maybe 2 more sessions will complete this book. Because next 3 verses are just describing the holy places, the seeker, and Srimati Radharani. So if you want, we can discuss for years together on each of the word and fluff it as much as required, but we will not do that. I just want to stick to the expectations that is required for Bhakti Shastri. So at this stage, what is required, that I'm speaking right now. So thank you all for joining. We'll stop here in case anybody has a question. You can continue. We'll take a break and then we'll have questions. श्री गोस्वामी पाद की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, श्री पदेशामृत की जय, समवेत गौर भक्तवृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरे कृष्णा। यस सुयश जी।
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Pranam. Prabhuji,
हरे कृष्ण।
I had one doubt, Prabhuji. In like while starting, only we discussed regarding offense that Rupa Goswami Pad and like he was remembering and that thing. So probably just wanted to know that we discussed that offense happens only when our attitude is offensive. So probably, but I've heard, I just want to check. Prabhupada many times give example like says that ignorance is not an excuse. So how to understand like this?
Yeah, so imagine now you are chanting very nicely, and I just become upset with you, and I just don't want to become pacified. So can I block you from going back home, back to Godhead?
You can.
I mean,
मतलब
उसमें
yeah.
आपकी कोई गलती नहीं है, आपने कुछ नहीं किया।
हाँ, in this case no,
No, I'm
but
just telling कि as a
हाँ.
principle, suppose imagine ना कि you're just doing bhakti, but somehow some people are envious of you, and they say no, we are very hurt by you, bro. I'm not happy with you. And you say, no, no, bro, please, be happy now. I'm not, no, no, I just want to block you from going back to Godhead. So I'll remain displeased with you. So will you be able to go back home back to Godhead, or you'll have to come back again just because I'm not happy with you? For no reason, for no mistake of yours.
Then
Does it sound logical? Does it sound
yes,
logical?
like there's no require like to
Yeah.
be get
I mean,
offended or
there will be
something.
so many people. If that is the case, who will go then? There'll always be some people who will be upset with you. So we don't have to. That's what I have discussed this particular pastime with some senior devotees. And but this is we first thing, we don't know exactly if this is how it happened past time, because it's not written anywhere. It is like a loka katha. It has been coming through oral tradition. And second thing is, even if it has happened, we cannot make a siddhant out of it, because nowhere else There is a Siddhanta written that if somebody is upset with you, then your Smaranam will be broken. It's not a written Siddhanta. We can continue our practices, but maybe when incidents happen like that with Rupa Goswami, just to teach us the value of not displeasing any Vaishnavas. But what is in our hand? What is in our hand is we don't maintain a bad attitude and we want to please everyone. We try our best to serve everyone. And then that's what we can do. After that, things are not so much in our hand. And then we take shelter of holy name, even if some unknowing aparadhas have happened. But if somebody is determined not to become happy with you, just to block you, that that's that doesn't make sense. Correct, no? So we can work upon having a nice attitude and not doing this Hanti Nindanti Vaidvashti Vaishnava Nalunati Krudhyate Yaturo Harsham. Those 6 things we should avoid.
Yes,
Which includes dvesha, not having hatred towards a Vaishnava. That is also an offense. Like that. So somebody is unhappy with you, but you don't envy them, then you will go back. But if somebody is unhappy with you and you start hating them, that hatred will stop us. Okay. And obviously, just going back to what it is not. See, going up to Vaikuntha is okay, but you want to go to Golok Vrindavan is not going to be easy unless you come to that mood of Brajavasi. And what is mood of Brajavasi? My lord. We'll discuss about it in the next one too. Brajavasi mood is like unimaginable. That consciousness we need to attain. And the gopis so eager to give dust of their feet, even if we have to go to hell for eternity. Even if this dust is going to relieve Krishna from his headache for a fraction of a second. Zero desire for oneself. Zero. Zero means zero. Nothing. Zero. That is Mura Prabhupada.
Prabhuji, I have one more doubt, Prabhuji, regarding Raganuga Bhakti only. So, Prabhuji, like we discussed that without, like at the stage of, like without performing Ragatmika Bhakti, one cannot reach
Not
Golok Vrindavan.
Ragatmika Bhakti.
Rag,
Ragatmika Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti are different.
okay.
Ragatmika Bhakti can be done only by those who are blood relatives of Krishna in Golok Vrindavan. They only have that raga, atmika, feeling or experience. Raga, atmika, bhakti. And when somebody is following one of their moods, that becomes raga anuga. Anuga means following. Their rag is raga anuga bhakti.
Yes, Prabhuji. So, I had doubt that without doing Raganuga Bhakti, how, like we see many of the proper disciples, like, well, like at least externally it doesn't seem, I'm not aware of the internal state, but like I've also heard that if one simply pleases spiritual master, he will go to, like he will attain that position. So how to understand project? Like if only pleases his spiritual master, serves his spiritual master, and follows whatever spiritual master says, then
So what is spiritual master telling us here in this purport of NOI 8?
that we have to come to this stage.
Not that stage. He's telling you follow these
After,
avasthas. He's telling follow these avasthas. So are we doing it? Then it is perfect. Then we are progressing back to Maya. We are progressing back. Till it, so Prabhupada only has given us 8th verse commentary. He's telling one has to constantly hear about Krishna's name, form, qualities, pastimes. So has one followed one's guru and has one got anugraha of his guru. Anugraha
sorry,
is has one obtained one's spiritual master's genuine, heartfelt blessings. That yes, see, I'm happy with you. I'm extremely happy with you. I'm like indebted to you. There are different levels of feelings. You see. So surely the principle is yasya prasadat bhagavad prasado. Yasya prasadat nagati kodoti. You please a spiritual master, that is only way to perfect themselves. But what spiritual master is telling us here, the preeminent Shiksha Guru of ISKCON, what is he telling us to follow? Are we following that? If we have followed that, then yes, then we are progressing. And we will also come to that consciousness. So many proper disciples, as you rightly said, we cannot judge internal states. We don't know. Externally, they will practice like everyone else only. In general, they will also chant Hare Krishna. They'll also follow all the practices. But with what feeling one is doing, that is important. And for some people, out of special mercy, they may attain very fast purification at the stage in the time of death also. In the last phase, so many experiences we hear of proper disciples who develop very deep realizations on the path of bhakti in just last few days, last few hours, last few minutes. So Krishna is Swarat. He can do anything. He's completely independent. We cannot say, oh, he has to follow all these rules. If he wants to give mercy, he will give. But we don't want to take any chance. That should be our consciousness. Not that, oh, he got mercy, he might have got mercy. So take care. I'll be also another mercy case. Jagai Madai got mercy. Can I expect another mercy case like Jagai Madai? I need to have that consciousness and let me follow my spiritual master's instructions very perfectly. When I do that, after that, it's in Krishna's hands. How long will I progress? How will I progress?
Yes,
Hmm?
really.
So Raganuga Bhakti is a state of consciousness also very much. One is what one is thinking while chanting, we don't know. Where one's heart is, no, and there one amazing thing is they're extremely attached to Prabhupada. And we are also Prabhupada Anugas. We want to follow his Prabhupada's footsteps. So when one is extremely attached to spiritual master, they'll go to the place where spiritual master is going. So anyways, direct back to God तो नहीं जाएंगे प्रभु हमको वापस जन्म तो लेना ही है जहाँ पे कृष्ण लीला होगी. So Raghavana Bhakta also takes another birth where one of Krishna's pastimes are going on. There he will be Ragadmika Bhakta kind of. Because there is Raga Bhakti gets his perfection. And then he goes back to Goloka.
Yes, really.
बहुत effective है.
बहुत homework है तुमसे.
Okay, Neha Mataji has asked this question. These stages, Shravan, Varan, Smarana, Sampatti can be gone through in one lifetime or generally require several lifetimes. So depends on person. It can be practiced in one lifetime, not a problem. It can be practiced. That is, one is provided one is sincere and one is fortunate to have that kind of guru who can guide him or her in that path properly. It is possible. And it may also happen that somebody might have practiced in previous lifetimes some things. Right now, just a quick revival is required, which also may happen. So we don't know which lifetime is this. So we should not worry about that so much. हो सकता है.
Yes, Prabhuji. It seems like a long path, so I thought of asking.
In this one lifetime, we can cover, or you might have covered a lot in the previous. We don't know. अभी थोड़ा छुपा हुआ है, एकदम से रिवाइव होगा. या हो भी गया रहेगा. We will not be showing to anyone. Just to teach others, must be asking questions like this. Very difficult to understand Raganuga Bhaktas.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Any other question, comment? Shyamchandra too. Any comments?
Above my pay grade.
Huh?
Corporate language में कहते हैं above my pay grade.
Above my B grade, huh?
Pay grade.
Pay grade. Oh, above my
औकात
pay
के
grade.
बाहर है.
Oh, above my pay grade. Sorry. Yeah. No, we all had to work upon this Shravan Dasha Bhuji, very important. This Krishna book reading. It see whatever principles Prabhupada has told, they were not just हाँ चलो करो यार something will happen. No, very uh, deeply thoughtful instructions. If we just follow them properly. So Prabhupada has told, Suyash bro, read every day Krishna book. Have we followed that? How will Prabhupada be pleased? We may say, yeah, he's pleased with me. But have we followed that? And if you follow reading Krishna book for 20 years, 30 years, what will be your consciousness? Can you imagine how many times you have read Krishna? In 20 years, so many times we'll be reading. And every time you're sleeping with that thought. Surely, one will be able to at least progress sufficiently in Shravan Dasa. But the problem will be if we don't begin only any endeavor in this direction. And just expect that I will just ritualistically chant my 16 rounds and do my ritualistic reading or order basic minimum sadhana. And at the time of death, I should expect that I will be taken directly back to Godhead, not just Godhead, but in Golok Vrindavan. That too not in any other rasa other than Madhurya rasa. That too in the Manjari Bhav, assisting Hare Kripa Goswami. तो ये इतना आसान नहीं होने वाला है उसके लिए पापड़ बेलना पड़ेगा. So this is also another interesting thing that we have so much homework to be done. And when we come to, oh, there's so much to be done here, then one becomes more internalized. Then we will not look so much into, hey, this problem, that problem, this politics, that politics, this fault, that fault. I know I have enough homework to be done for my own spiritual progress. Let me focus on that. बाकी सब चीजें. Otherwise, when we don't have so much homework on our own plate, we feel, oh, मेरा तो हो गया ना. I'm like done with my 16 rounds and done with my reading. Now hold, what should I do? चलो यहाँ पे क्या चल रहा है, वहां पे क्या चल रहा है. जिसका खुद का पढ़ाई हो गया है वो बहुत सबके रूम में इधर उधर घूमते रहता है एग्जाम के पहले. हाँ, मेरा तो सब हो गया है. जिसका खुद को पता है कि नहीं मेरा पढ़ाई बाकी है, वो देखता भी नहीं बाजू वाला क्या कर रहा है. It's very natural. So that way we're also very, very fortunate that now we know that so much homework is to be done. We need to go deep into Krishna Leela and hear about Krishna, name, form, qualities possible. So much literature is available. So many lectures are available. And is my mind getting affected by these things? That is what we have to ask. Okay, we'll stop here. Thank you all for joining. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Krishna.